Good morning, fifth graders. It's Ms. Jagodnik coming to you again with the math video today. Happy Friday. We have now completed one full week of our online learning, which is a lot to get used to. So I hope you all are feeling more comfortable with it and starting to enjoy it as well. Today's lesson is converting units of measurement, as we've been doing all week, but now we are in the metric system. And today we're going to be focusing on capacity, ways to measure how much a container holds, specifically with liquid. This should be a nice, easy lesson to end the week because in the metric system, we're just working with base 10, powers of 10. So it's a lot easier than memorizing all the different conversions that you have to memorize when you do the customary units, like we did at the beginning of the week. Also, when we're measuring capacity, the amount of liquid something holds, in the metric system, we really only have two units that we use, liters and milliliters. Now, if you listened to Miss Singh yesterday, you know that the beginnings of the words mean something in the metric system. So milli means 1,000. And milliliters means there are 1,000 of them to make up 1 liter. So this is what we need to remember for capacity. The liters are the bigger units we're going to be working with, and the milliliters are the little tiny units that go inside of them. It takes 1,000 of them just to make 1 liter. So just like we've been talking about all week with converting, when I am going from a small unit like milliliters into a bigger unit like liters, I'm not going to need as many of the big unit, so I'm going to be dividing. So to get from milliliters to liters, I want to divide by 1,000. But if I'm going the other way, I'm starting with those big liters and I'm figuring out how many milliliters are inside of them, I'm going to need a lot of milliliters to fill them up. So I'm going to be multiplying by 1,000 to get a bigger total. We're going to try the guided practice problems together. Hopefully you tried them on your own already. If you haven't, feel free to pause and try it on your own first. This is on page 665, that box on the top, and we're going to be doing those problems. I've divided them into two sides here because they all kind of go together. Numbers 3, 5, and 7, we're going from liters to milliliters. And number 4, 6, and 8, we're going the other way. We're starting with milliliters and going to liters. So let's start over here with liters to milliliters. Number 3 asked me to convert 2.75 liters into milliliters. So I'm going from my big unit to my little unit. I have to multiply by 1,000 because I need more milliliters to fill up those liters. Oh, this is great because multiplying by 1,000 is just using base 10. So if I want to do 2.75 times 1,000, or I can also think of it as 2.75 times 10 to the third power. Now we know the shortcut. That means that I am moving the decimal point 3 places to the right to make it, or the place value, 3 places bigger. So if I just take my decimal point on 2.75 and I move it 1, 2, 3 places to the right, that means I need to fill in that 0. So I end up with 2, 7, 5, and 1 0 needs to be annexed. So 2,750. Okay. So 2.75 liters is the same as 2,750 milliliters. Well, that was easy. Let's do the other two. 5 liters. I'm doing 5 times 1,000, or 5 times 10 to the third power. Well, 5 is already a whole number. I don't really need to worry about the decimal point. If I do a whole number times 1,000, I just annex 3 zeros. So this is equivalent to 5,000. So 5 liters is equivalent to 5,000 milliliters. Oh, and finally on this side, we have 0.027 liters. Just like the first one, that means I am doing 0.027 times 1,000, or 0.027 times 10 to the third power. That means I am moving this decimal point 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it ends up right at the end of the number. I don't need to annex any zeros. So I'm just going to get rid of the zeros in the front and make it a whole number, 27. So 0.027 liters is equivalent to 27 milliliters. Okay, now it's time to go the opposite way. On this side, I have to change milliliters to liters. That means I am getting smaller because I'm going into the bigger unit. So I am dividing by 1,000. Okay, so I'm going to start with 3,000 milliliters and divide by 1,000. Or 3,000 divided by 10 to the third power. 3 zeros, third power, same thing. Now, we also know this shortcut. If I am dividing by a power of 10, dividing by 1,000, then I'm just going to move the decimal point 3 places the other way, 3 places to the left. That will make my number's place value 3 places smaller, which is what I'm trying to do. So if I look for the decimal point here, can't see the decimal point because it's a whole number, but I know that means that the decimal point is at the end of the number. So I can put it in and I can move it over 3 places to the left. Okay. So that means I just have 3. Okay. So 3,000 milliliters is equivalent to 3 liters. Okay. That makes sense because I know 3,000 divided by 1,000 is 3. Now I have 250 milliliters divided by 1,000, or 250 divided by 10 to the third power. So if I want to move this decimal point, again, it's at the end of the number because it's a whole number. 1, 2, 3 places to the left. That means that decimal point is going to be right in front of the 2. So I know I put a 0 there, 0.25. Well, I have this 0 at the end. I don't really need it anymore because it's at the end after the whole decimal number. There's no other digits behind it. So I really could just call this 0.25. If you want to leave the 0 there on the end, that's fine. But I like to make it shorter and easier. So 250 milliliters is equivalent to 0.25 liters. Next, I have 400 milliliters, changing it into liters by dividing it by 1,000, or I could say I'm doing 400 divided by 10 to the third power. Again, my decimal point at the end, I'm going to move it 3 places to the left, 1, 2, 3. It's going to end up right in front of the 4. So I know I put the 0.4. I have those 2 zeros. I don't really need them. So I'm just going to call this 0.4 liters. So I can say that 400 milliliters is equivalent to 0.4 liters. Okay, so that's your lesson for today. Should be a nice way to end the week. Remember, when you're going from milliliters to liters, going to the bigger unit, you need to divide because you don't need as many of them. When you're going from liters to milliliters to the smaller unit, you need to multiply because you're going to need more of them to fill up those containers. Okay? Enjoy. Go on and do the independent pages, and then make sure that you go into your practice buddy and make sure that you hit hand in all work at the end so that your teacher can see how you're doing on these lessons. And have a great weekend, everybody.